everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Hope from Home, the show where we bring you conversations of hope from our home to yours. Today, Jermaine Bagnall speaks with author Peter Elliott about a novel he wrote that helps people find their purpose. After that, you'll meet our new associate producer, Marianne Torres, who speaks with Bernadette Molnar about an Adoration chapel that she built into a popular video game. Then, Deacon Pedro will reconnect with Rabbi Flanzraich, who was quarantined after returning from Israel, and he tells us how this crisis has affected his congregation. And we end the program with a little surprise, but I'll tell you that later. So here we go, from our home to yours.
Today I'm speaking with the amazing author of The Last Bachelor of Ales, Peter T. Elliott. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I'd love to know what inspired you to write The Last Bachelor of Ales, Journey to Purpose.
It's actually a book by Sherry Waddell. It's called Forming Intentional Disciples. And that inspired me to be a disciple. I realized if you're going to be a disciple, you have to do what the disciples did or do. So the greatest thing that they do is proclaim. So I said, I have to proclaim. Then I recalled a book that I read in college called What Color is Your Parachute? And in there they teach you to put down what your options are and then list what the pros and cons are. So I thought about my purpose, my interests, my abilities, my obligations, and set out a grid, and then turned out write a book was the most productive option. So that's what I did.
Well, that's fantastic. In the book, one of the characters, Moses, is very sage-like. He's almost, in my mind, he was almost very Gandalf when I was reading him. In our journey of why, like, what role does the sage or like the spiritual director have in our everyday lives in answering why, in helping us grow?
Well, all people by nature desire to know. So people are going to seek. So the sage, it's more a role of guiding the person to seek in the right direction. So the sage has experience, he can recognize where people are in their journey. And I think one of the big things about the sage is they don't judge people by where they are in their journey. They look at them from the viewpoint of where they are in their journey and try to guide them along on their path. That's his role, is to keep you focused in the right direction, or to kind of shift your gaze in a different direction if you're going the wrong way.
One of your characters, Colleen, put it best, if everything in the universe came from God, then everything to some degree reveals who he is. So do you think that within this global pandemic, it's like this is where we're getting an opportunity to see people exhibit love and trust and the golden rule?
Yeah, I think it's what we're seeing is we're seeing them actually shifting away from the goal of money, profit. So that money is a means, it's not an end. Mm-hmm. So with the global pandemic, we see that the companies are shifting to the recognizing an actual need as in a product that's necessary to help other people live, actually, to not die. So they're looking at their business more in the terms of a true end, which is the product. So every company exists to produce a product, to provide a service, and that should be the end of the company. Profits are just the means. And I think people gravitate towards profit because it's such an easy metric. Truth, beauty, and goodness. That's not something that's easy to measure. But money is very easy to measure. We're really good at tracking where the money goes. You know, it's the theme of many detective novels, follow the money. But I think it's just because it's such an easy metric, and people get confused because we pay so much attention to it, that's not really an end. It's only a means.
How can we help people have greater faith?
Well, I think people have to realize they have limitations, they have rights, but they also have limitations, obligations, and responsibilities. I think now with this COVID-19 epidemic that's going on, we have a good reminder that we're not in control. There are things that are beyond us. And it's encouraging to see some of the things coming out of this, some of the cooperation, how people are all pulling together to try and slow the spread of it down. There's companies that are retooling to produce necessary medical equipment. There's people working together now. And, we do have to work together. We're not individuals. We're not. This idea of autonomous society is crazy. You can't build a society on autonomy. You have to build it accepted social norms.
In the book, you talk about the dichotomy of self, like our work self versus the rest of our time self, the self that allows us to do harm to our neighbors and the self that allows us to do love to our neighbors. How do you think people can reconcile those differences? And do you think our time in quarantine right now will impact that, will change that?
Oh, it will definitely impact it. Now we're spending much more time at home with a close community group, our family, which actually family is the basic unit of society. It's not the individual. You can't have a society with one. You need more than one to be a society. Mm-hmm. So people are going to start looking at this, looking at other people, and they'll come out of it more in tune to the need for other people, and the need for other people not to be used, but mm-hmm. to cooperate with, to love. So it's like we're all members of the body of Christ, and we're not all little Christ. Nobody said little Christ. We're all members, and every member has its part. And we start to realize when we're away from the other people, and we have to do so many more things ourselves, we learn to appreciate more how that works.
What are your hopes for people coming out on the other side? Like we've had to kind of step back into time and slow down and have to be more aware of people now. And once we're out of this, do we speed back up and go back to where we were, or what happens? What's your hope for us?
I'm sure that people are going to miss their social gatherings. They're going to have a new appreciation for interacting with other people on a social level, and they'll appreciate more people as other beings, not as tools, or it's like the old saying, it says we use things and love people. And I think this time away from being able to actually get out and interact with other people and love them. So, there's still ways of reaching out, but we're going to recognize how shallow they are compared to being able to give someone a hug.
Thank you so much for your time today, Peter, and I hope everything is wonderful in Coquitlam, BC with you, and definitely look forward to reading the next book.
I'm here with Bernadette Molnar, who did something pretty unique. She built an Adoration chapel in a popular video game known as Animal Crossing. She shared the image of her chapel on Reddit, on which it started trending, and ultimately led to us connecting here today. Bernadette, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So first off, I just want to clear the air for people watching at home who don't know. What is Animal Crossing?
So it's essentially like a simulation style video game that allows players to create their own little version of paradise on a deserted island.
Ooh, perfect. Thanks for the explanation. I'm sure it's going to help a couple of people watching. And so what inspired you to create an Adoration chapel within the game?
So essentially it was, I have a deep love for adoration and devotion to it. So when I was about 18 years old, I left the church, and I came back about a year ago after I felt this calling to go to confession and to go to Mass. And so when I did that, I felt more called to do more than just a Sunday obligation. And one of the things that I did was go to Adoration, but due to COVID-19, unfortunately, I'm not able to go.
Yeah. So that inspired you to make a chapel for yourself to kind of bring adoration, I guess, a step closer then?
Yeah, exactly. At least I could have my own little adoration and make a spiritual adoration, I guess.
Oh, that's so cute. And can you walk me through the design of the Adoration Chapel? I remember seeing in your post on Reddit roses and a little bench.
Yep. So it's this little fenced-in area on the top of a hill. And like you said, there is a wood log bench and roses. And then I drew a picture of a monstrance so that I could have something to look at. And but the roses, mainly got those because they're the most rare flower to find on my island. And the fact that it honestly is a good symbol of and reminder of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So yeah.
No, I loved it. I thought it was simple. I thought it was cute and inspiring. So I definitely agree with the roses and everything. And so what's happened since you last posted the chapel?
Well, I've actually had a lot of people message me to invite them to my island. So I've had a lot of people visit. It's been a lot of fun.
That's great. That's so you had people joining, you had people maybe stopping by, sitting on the bench. Mm-hmm. That's lovely. And so after posting it on Reddit, you received a lot of positive engagement, 930 upvotes, a lot of nice comments like, this is the best thing I've seen online in a while. The Catholic Church and Reddit, or the Catholic Church and Animal Crossing in one. This is the best thing ever. It even made it to the popular thread on Reddit too, which is a culmination of posts from across the world of any topic. And so how do you feel about all this? Did you expect this at the very beginning?
Not at all. Honestly, Reddit can be kind of a harsh place to post something. So I thought I was going to get a lot of backlash. And I ended up getting a little bit of it from one person commented saying something like, oh, you're just making your own personal Jesus. And like, that's not what I meant. But overall, it's been really good. But honestly, it feels really good just to kind of honor God in some small way.
After creating your chapel in Animal Crossing, what are your plans from here? Are you perhaps going for a full cathedral next? Maybe daily Animal Crossing masses?
I wish. But essentially, if I could upgrade like the wood fence to a stone fence, make more benches so more people can visit, that would be definitely ideal.
No, that sounds great. I'm all for it. And if you ever do get to those daily Animal Crossing masses, for sure, let me know. Bernadette, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really fun and really nice. And thank you for inspiring others with your Adoration Chapel in Animal Crossing.
Thank you for having me.
Rabbi Aaron Flanzraich, is so good to be able to see you and to have you with us today.
The same here, Pedro. It's wonderful to see you.
So you were one of the people that were actually quarantined for 14 days because you flew back. You had to come back from Israel first. How was that experience?
It was trying because it was almost like playing whack-a-mole. We were chasing flights that were being canceled within hours of us booking them. So as I shared with my congregation, the reason why I returned was not because it wasn't safe in Israel. It was in fact very safe in Israel. The medical system there is excellent. The concern is that with the rapid disappearance of flight schedules,
right,
that I might not be able to get back in time before my health insurance would lapse.
And then, but you finally did make it here, and
yes,
you I mean, I don't know. A lot of us feel that we're quarantined, but we really aren't. I can go out, but you could not even leave the
We
apartment.
could not go out. So getting groceries was a challenge. I will say that when we walked onto the plane, leaving Tel Aviv, coming to Toronto, it was the cleanest, nicest smelling plane I have ever seen or smelt in my life.
Right.
It was impeccably clean, Pedro.
Yeah. Now, how difficult, I'm sure that you have been going through the same struggles that every other religious congregation is going through in terms of those public gatherings. How quickly did you have to decide whether you had to close down the synagogue?
In my mind, once there was, it was apparent that this was a serious threat. In early March already, by March the 10th, the synagogue had closed down all of its public activities, including services. And the reason why we did that, Pedro, is because in Judaism, as I am sure you know, that the preservation of human life is before all other concerns.
Yes.
And as the rabbis famously say, violate one Sabbath in order to observe many more in the future.
Yeah.
And so we closed down all of our public events because I was absolutely committed that in no way, shape, or form would an attendance at a ritual event in our congregation or a social one be contributing to anyone taking ill.
Yeah, you might be violating a Sabbath, but in a way a Sabbath has been imposed on everybody.
Yes.
How important is it for people to actually, go to synagogue, or how difficult it has been for your congregation to not have that?
It's a very interesting question. There are, I think, two elements to that answer. On one hand, the synagogue is not an important, it's not a critical part of Jewish life. Most of Jewish life centers around the home and around the family observances that we maintain in our home.
Right.
It's for that reason why the ancient rabbis and even the medieval rabbis didn't want people to get married in synagogues. They got married outside of their parents' homes or certainly under the stars, as was a long-standing tradition. But today is different. And today synagogues represent the power of community, wherein even a century ago, people never really left the villages where they grew up in. Today, we know it's very, very different. And synagogues, like churches and mosques, are magnets, centers of gravity that enable people to retain and strengthen their religious identities in ways they didn't need a century ago.
Right. So, and you've been forced to move that online like everybody else. Were you already doing some online work or having your sermons posted online?
Very limited, Pedro. We had a system where my sermons were recorded and then they were put on podcast. But that was the extent of it. We ramped up very, very quickly. And within 2 weeks of closing down, we had a live stream service running. It's now, our weekday services are on Zoom, excuse me. And our Sabbath services are live streamed on YouTube and our YouTube channel. And we're anticipating that this is just the beginning, Pedro, that in the absence of effective therapies or vaccines, that we're going to have to reach deeper into delivering content, to use a business term, to the congregation. And that is in form of classes, services. Think of the Jewish high holidays.
Yeah.
How can that take place in synagogues? It's actually unimaginable, but it has to be imagined.
Yeah, well, and I was going to ask you about that, about the high holidays, because Passover, like all your holidays, is a big family event. A lot of people come together. That obviously was not possible. How was Passover for you this year?
It was strange. We had a very small table. Traditionally, Pedro, we have 20, 30, 50 people at our Passover table, family, friends, guests, strangers, and we had 5 people.
Right.
What we did do this year was we set up our Seder table on the first night, because there were 2 nights of the Seder. On the first night, we set up a Zoom program where we had invited the entire congregation to join me via Zoom on for the Seder. And we had a very special guest, Mayor John Tory, dropped in and spent about a half hour with us. He even came with his own Seder plate, which was very impressive.
Wow.
So the response was profoundly affirming in the absence of people physically being there.
Yeah. In the little time that we have left, Aaron, maybe would you leave us with your prayer of hope for our viewers?
Of course. A famous medieval rabbi, his name was Nachman of Breslov, from the town of Breslov. He once said that of all the commandments that people are held to in life, these two are the most important. One, never give up. And two, always be joyful. And so even in dark moments, we know that this shall pass and that the better, the good, awaits us. And I pray it should come soon.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Aaron Flanzraich. Always good to hear your words of wisdom.
Wonderful to see you.
It's good to be with you today, and thank you.
Thank you, my friend. God bless you.
We're not quite at the end of the show yet because I have a little surprise for you. But first, what did you think of Jermaine's interview with Peter Elliott? I've been looking for a good book to read, so I'm definitely going to get The Last Bachelor of Ales. And have you played Animal Crossing? Did you know that there was an Adoration Chapel? And have you found it yet? Let us know in the comments. And it was good to hear from our friend Rabbi Aaron. I guess all religious congregations are having to adapt. Share your stories with us by following Sultan Light Media on all of our social media platforms and commenting with the hashtag #HopeFromHome. Let us know where you are finding hope during this time. And also check out our website, sultanlighttv.org/hopefromhome. Okay, it's surprise time. Are you ready? Here are Catholic artists from home with their rendition of a song that we all know and love. Hope you sing along from their home to yours.
You shall cross the barren desert, but you shall not die of thirst. You shall wander far in safety, though you do not know the way.
You shall speak your words to foreign lands, and all will understand.
You shall see the face of God and live. Be not afraid. Come follow me, and I will give you
If you pass through raging waters, in the sea you shall not drown. If you walk amid the burning flame,
you shall not be harmed. If you stand before the power of hell, and death is at your side, that I am with you through it all. Be not afraid. I go before you. wicked men insult and hate you, all because of me. Blessed are you.
I go before you always.
Follow me,
And I will give you rest.
when the earth has turned beneath you,
And your voice is seldom heard.
where our love gives that lasting light has long since ebbed away. When your heart is sad and hope is there,
And dark is all around. I will stand beside you till the dawn. Oh, be not afraid. Be not afraid. I go before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you rest. I go before you always. Come, follow me, and I will give you rest. Fear is useless.
not be afraid.
Gotta be courageous. Walk in faith.
Any hope, everyone.
Trust in the Lord.
God is with you.
Fear is not an option.
Pray without ceasing.
Don't lose hope, guys.
Trust. Be not afraid.